Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you is not something most men ever realize, even after years of experience with women. Attraction doesn't always arrive loudly. It doesn't always come with obvious flirting, playful touches, or bold confessions. Sometimes, attraction arrives quietly, disguised as curiosity, and if you don't recognize it in time, you miss it forever. Many men, especially mature men, believe that if a woman is interested, she will make it obvious. They think attraction should look clear, direct, and unmistakable. But feminine desire doesn't work that way. In fact, the deeper a woman feels drawn to a man, the more careful she becomes with how she reveals it. She doesn't want to risk rejection. She doesn't want to appear needy. And she certainly doesn't want to feel foolish for opening herself emotionally too soon. So instead of saying what she feels, she tests. Not with games, but with questions. Questions that sound innocent. Questions that feel casual. Questions most men answer without ever realizing what's really being asked. And this is where everything changes. If you've ever looked back at a conversation and suddenly thought, wait, was she actually interested? This video is for you. If you've ever felt that women become warm around you, curious about you, but then suddenly distant, this is exactly what you need to understand. Because the truth is, many women do open doors, but only once. So stay with me till the very end. Don't skip. Don't assume you already know this. Because the men who truly understand these signals never feel confused about attraction again. And before we go deeper, subscribe to this channel and like this video. Not for me, but because this message needs to reach men who still believe they're invisible. You're not invisible. You're just not seeing the signs yet. Now let me show you how women really test attraction, without ever saying it out loud. Let me tell you something most men never hear, but almost every woman lives by. When a woman feels attraction, real attraction, she rarely moves forward directly, especially with a mature man. Not because she lacks confidence, but because attraction, for her, is tied deeply to emotional safety, and safety is never rushed. A woman watches before she acts. She listens before she opens. She feels your presence long before she decides whether to step closer. This is why many men misread the situation entirely. They assume silence means disinterest. They assume calm means neutrality. But in reality, silence is often observation, and calm is often curiosity held back. When a woman is drawn to an older man, she becomes even more careful. She assumes he has already lived a full emotional life. She wonders whether there is room for her energy, her emotions, her presence. She doesn't want to compete with routines, habits, or emotional walls built over years. So she doesn't rush forward. She tests first. And her tests are subtle. She doesn't say, I'm interested in you. She doesn't say, I feel something here. She doesn't even flirt the way you might expect. Instead, she asks questions. Not because she wants answers, but because she wants to feel how you answer. Women don't evaluate men the way men evaluate women. Men often look for attraction signals in behavior, touch, compliments, smiles. Women listen for emotional signals, steadiness, openness, direction, presence. They want to know whether you're emotionally awake or emotionally closed, whether you're grounded or defensive, whether you're comfortable in yourself or hiding behind politeness. And here's the part most men never realize. A woman doesn't test because she's unsure of you. She tests because she's already considering you. Her questions are not random conversation fillers. They are emotional feelers. Gentle probes to see whether stepping closer will feel safe, welcomed, and natural, or awkward and rejected. If she senses resistance, she withdraws quietly. No drama, no explanation. She simply closes the door. And once that door closes, she rarely opens it again. This is why awareness matters, because attraction doesn't disappear, it just goes unnoticed. And the men who understand this don't chase signals. They recognize them calmly, confidently, and without fear. When a woman feels drawn to a man, especially a man who carries maturity and quiet confidence, something very specific happens inside her. The attraction doesn't rush outward, it turns inward first. She begins to imagine, to feel, to sense what closeness might be like. And the moment attraction enters this internal space, fear walks in with it. Not fear of the man, but fear of exposure. Fear of showing interest and not being met with the same emotional steadiness. This is why attraction, for many women, transforms into curiosity instead of confession. Questions feel safer than statements. Curiosity allows her to move closer without risking embarrassment or rejection. A question gives her space to retreat if she senses emotional distance, while still offering a doorway if she senses openness. This is something most men misunderstand. They think questions mean neutrality, friendliness, or boredom. But for a woman, a carefully chosen question is often the most intimate move she can make without crossing her own emotional boundaries. She isn't asking because she lacks confidence. She's asking because she respects herself. She wants to feel whether you are emotionally present enough to receive her interest. And this is especially true with older men. A woman assumes that a mature man has already built a life, patterns, routines, emotional defenses. She doesn't want to disturb his balance unless she senses that her presence would be welcomed rather than tolerated. So she asks, softly, casually, almost invisibly. Her tone is light, but her intention is deep. She listens closely to how relaxed you are when you answer. She feels whether your words come from grounded confidence or guarded detachment. She senses whether your energy invites connection or quietly keeps it at a distance. And here's the truth most men never hear. She is not listening for the right answer. She is listening for emotional temperature. Is he calm? Is he comfortable in himself? Is he emotionally available without being needy? Is there warmth behind his words or only politeness? These questions allow her to test all of that in seconds. And if she feels even a slight emotional wall, defensiveness, sarcasm, cold logic, or indifference, she doesn't confront it. She simply steps back. Attraction fades not because it was weak, but because it wasn't met. This is why women rarely repeat these questions. They don't push. They observe, decide, and move on quietly. To the man who understands this, questions stop being small talk. They become signals, invitations, moments where awareness matters more than charm. And the man who responds with calm presence instead of performance becomes unforgettable. Now listen carefully, because this is where most men completely miss the moment without ever realizing it. The first question a woman asks when she feels drawn to you almost never sounds romantic. It never sounds bold. In fact, it often sounds so ordinary that men dismiss it instantly. She may ask if you spend a lot of time alone, if you usually keep to yourself, or if you're seeing anyone these days. On the surface, it feels like casual conversation, but beneath it, something far more intimate is happening. She is not asking about your loneliness. She is asking about access. She is quietly wondering whether there is space for her presence in your life, or whether your world is already emotionally closed. A woman asks this question only after she has already imagined herself somewhere near you. She is sensing whether stepping closer would feel natural or intrusive. And this is why the tone of your response matters far more than the content. When you answer defensively, briefly, or too literally, she feels resistance, not rejection, but distance. She hears a man who is guarded, sealed inside routines, or emotionally unavailable. And she doesn't argue with that feeling. She simply respects it and withdraws. But when a man responds with calm openness, without explaining, justifying, or oversharing, something shifts inside her. She feels warmth. She feels welcome. She feels that closeness would not disturb your balance but flow into it. This is the subtle art most men never learn. The question is not about whether you are alone. It is about whether you are open. A grounded man communicates this naturally. He doesn't rush. He doesn't impress. He doesn't chase. His answer carries quiet confidence and emotional steadiness, and that steadiness tells her everything she needs to know. She begins to feel safe imagining herself closer to you. This is why women ask this question only once. It is a doorway, not a discussion. If she senses emotional space, she steps forward internally. If she senses closure, she steps back silently. No confrontation, no explanation, just a shift in energy. And this is where awareness separates ordinary men from unforgettable ones. Because the man who understands this doesn't try to sound interesting. He simply remains present. He listens beneath the words. And when he responds with warmth instead of habit, the door doesn't close. It opens. This is where the quiet tragedy happens for most men. Because even when a woman opens the door emotionally, they unknowingly close it themselves. Not with arrogance, not with rejection, but with unawareness. When she asks that first question about solitude, availability, or whether you're seeing anyone, most men answer from habit instead of presence. They respond mechanically. They explain too much, or they shut down emotionally without realizing it. Some men rush to appear independent, believing that emotional distance equals strength. Others overshare, trying to sound honest but accidentally revealing emotional emptiness or confusion. And the woman feels it instantly. She doesn't analyze it logically, she senses it. She feels whether your life has emotional elasticity or emotional rigidity. Women are incredibly sensitive to tone, rhythm, and emotional texture. She notices whether your response feels relaxed or defensive, open or guarded, grounded or restless. And the moment she senses that closeness would require effort, negotiation, or emotional pushing, her attraction begins to soften. Not because she judged you, but because she respects her own emotional boundaries. This is why so many men say, everything seemed fine, and then she pulled away. She didn't pull away suddenly. She decided quietly. Attraction didn't vanish. It simply wasn't met with awareness. A grounded man doesn't rush to define himself when asked these questions. He doesn't prove independence, and he doesn't perform availability. He remains centered. His response feels like an open door without pressure, and that is incredibly rare. Because most men are either trying to impress or protect themselves, women feel that tension immediately, and tension kills attraction faster than rejection ever could. This moment is not about sounding interesting. It's about sounding at ease. A man who is comfortable with his solitude but not imprisoned by it sends a powerful emotional signal. He communicates that closeness would be a choice, not a need. That his life is full, but not closed. And when a woman senses that, her curiosity deepens. She leans in emotionally. She feels safe exploring further. This is why awareness matters more than charm. Charm can impress for a moment, but presence creates trust, and trust is what transforms curiosity into desire. Most men never realize how close they were to connection. They remember the conversation, but they never notice the emotional doorway they stood in. And once it closes, it doesn't reopen. Not because she lost interest, but because she chose emotional self-respect. The men who understand this don't regret missed signals. They recognize them in real time. The second question arrives only after the first one has quietly passed her internal test. This question goes deeper, because now she is no longer sensing availability alone. She is sensing direction. When a woman asks what you are looking for these days, what you are focused on, or where you feel your life is moving, she is not asking about goals on paper. She is listening for inner movement. She wants to feel whether your life is anchored or drifting, whether you are emotionally alive or simply existing out of habit. Women do not open themselves to men who wander internally. They open to men who move with intention, even if that intention is calm and understated. This question is her way of checking whether closeness with you would feel stable or uncertain. She listens to how you speak about your life, not what you list. She senses whether your words carry purpose or avoidance, clarity or confusion. A man who answers this question with grounded calm, without over-explaining or performing ambition, sends a powerful emotional signal. He communicates that his life has direction, but he is not desperate to prove it. And that steadiness creates safety. Most men make the mistake of turning this moment into a resume, listing achievements or future plans, believing that success is what attracts her. But what truly attracts her is coherence, emotional alignment, the sense that you know who you are, where you stand, and what matters to you now. When she hears that, she doesn't imagine your accomplishments. She imagines how it would feel to be beside you. If your answer feels scattered, she feels uncertainty. If it feels defensive, she feels distance. But when it feels grounded, present, and honest, something opens inside her. She begins to picture shared moments, quiet closeness, emotional ease. This is the moment where curiosity turns into desire. Because desire is not about excitement alone, it is about safety mixed with attraction. And this question tells her whether both exist in you. By the time a woman has asked both of these questions, something important has already happened. She has moved past surface attraction and entered emotional consideration. She is no longer wondering if you are interesting. She is wondering if you are compatible. Especially with mature men, women assume time is valuable. They do not want to invest emotionally unless they sense that connection could grow naturally. These two questions about availability and direction are her quiet way of protecting her heart. They allow her to explore closeness without exposing herself too soon. And this is why missing them matters so deeply. Compliments can be misread, body language can be subtle, but these questions are deliberate. They are emotional checkpoints. If you miss them, you miss the moment she opened herself just enough to feel you. And once she decides that the space is not right, she rarely revisits it. Not because she is cold, but because she respects her own emotional rhythm. For men over 50, this matters even more. Many women assume that older men are emotionally settled, sometimes even closed. These questions help her determine whether that assumption is true or false. When a man answers with presence, calm, and awareness, he becomes rare. He becomes memorable. He becomes the man she feels safe moving toward. And the beauty of this is that it requires no manipulation, no performance, no chasing. only awareness, only emotional steadiness. The man who understands this never feels confused about attraction again. He doesn't guess, he doesn't overthink. He simply listens beneath the words and responds from grounded presence. And that presence is what women feel most deeply. If you remember nothing else from this message, remember this. Women do not test your words, they test your awareness. Those two simple questions are not small talk. They are invitations. And when you learn to recognize them, attraction stops being confusing and starts becoming clear. If this resonated with you, comment, "I see the signs," and subscribe to the channel because this is where mature men learn what most were never taught. Stay grounded, stay present, and never miss the quiet moments that change everything.